So you've already seen how to add a new fragment to an activity, but let's walk through what this code is doing line by line. Inside the Android Me activity in onCreate, we've called Get Support Fragment Manager. This gives us a fragment manager using the support library APIs. The manager is responsible for starting and completing fragment transactions. So, using the manager, you can call begin transaction to start a new fragment transaction. Next, you decide what actions to take. A call to add adds a fragment and embeds it within a host activity. A call to replace would replace an existing fragment through its associated container. But let's change this back to add since we're embedding it within this activity. Add and replace are the two main types of actions we'll be using in this app, but you can perform multiple behaviors like a series of adds, replacements, or removals by making multiple calls during the same fragment transaction. And when you're ready to complete the transaction, you must call commit. To add our other two body part fragments, you'll create two more containers of the same size as the head container in the activity Android Me layout file where we want to display the body parts. So you'll create two more containers like this one, this time giving them the descriptive IDs body container and leg container. And back in our Android Me activity code, you'll create a new body part fragment for each of those body and leg parts. And I'll actually leave this portion of the code up to you since it's very similar to what we've done to display the head fragment. Next, let's look at how to change the displayed image. Right now, in the body part fragment class, we set the image resource to the first head image in our list of IDs. But I actually want to be able to dynamically set the image to any one I want to display, whether that's an image in the middle of the list or an image of a body or legs. So how can I do that? Well, instead of hard-coding in the list of images and an index to display, I can store this information inside the body part fragment class. I just have to create variables to store that information. I'll store a list of image IDs and the index in that list to display. And I'll store them in two class variables that I'll define as a list named mImageIDs and an int variable named mListIndex. Then I also need to define setter methods that let me set the initial values for these variables once I create a fragment. So I'll create public methods setImageIDs and setListIndex that take in a list of images to work with and the index that determines which image ID in the list to display, and I'll set them to the internal variables. Then I'll update my image resource code in onCreateView. I'll delete this hard-coded image resource. Then I'll add code that checks that a list of image IDs has been set. Otherwise, I'll log a message saying that the list is null. At the top of the class, I'll create a tag for logging. Then if the list of image IDs is null, I'll create a log message that says so. If the list is not null, then instead of setting the image resource to the first head image, I'll set it to the image whose ID is in the image IDs list at the desired list index. And finally, we actually need to use these setter methods in our activity code. So let's go back to Android Me activity. The rest of the transaction code will remain the same, so let's see what this looks like. Now we see a different head image displayed. Next, it'll be your job to do the same thing, defining and setting variables for each body part fragment class. This includes displaying the body and leg images too. And by the end of the exercise, you should have a full body image of a custom Android.